So, we're live on YouTube, and welcome everyone, so subscribers and passersby to the Law of the Earth YouTube channel. My name is Keegan, and today I'm here with Veronica, the Love Goddess, which is quite a wonderful name and title combination. And I'm also going to record on Zoom. All right. So, welcome, Veronica. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well. Thank you, Keegan. How are you?
Great, great. Excited to be here and to just, make a connection just like through Facebook. Found you, saw your New Earth website and posts about the special New Earth portal and thought that was very interesting. I've always been resonant with the concept of New Earth since I guess I first came across it around 2012 after the old world ended and the New Earth began, right? Or began to begin, and so we're still beginning. And I'd love to just hear from your perspective what that means. What is the new Earth, and what's your part that you're playing in this beginning and birthing of it?
Okay. Yeah, and if people want to kind of search and find me, they can search for Dr. Veronica Love. Um,
And
yeah, and
also
so
any other background that you want to share about yourself as an introduction. Like we've
yeah,
just met and had one conversation before, but um, yeah, I'd welcome you to share any
yeah.
other details.
Okay. So I have a PhD in sustainability from Arizona State University and a master's degree in ecology and evolutionary biology, and then a bachelor's degree in anthropology and biology. And I just mention all this to mention that like I've got that chunk of this, like the academic chunk. And then what's been a lot more alive in me for 7, 8 years is more like the spiritual piece and integrating these two. And so one thing that's probably very important for people to understand is that when I was going through this PhD program in sustainability, I think I went into it thinking like if people just like understood like how we could live differently, how we could design the places we live differently and build them differently and just like do life differently. Like if we could just show people through science like how much better that would be, then people will make that choice, right? It'll be logical, it'll be easy. And what I learned very quickly was that we already have, the science and the data to support these kinds of shifts in how we live. And the real issue is like the motivation and the will, right, to do it. So, pretty quickly, I kind of switched gears and started looking into like human behavior and what motivates people. And then I started to have kind of the big spiritual awakening. So my whole life I was tapped into that spiritual side, but because I was also pursuing this more academic path, it kind of stayed quiet, for a while. And some things just sort of opened. I won't go into that now for, why at this particular time in my life I had the big spiritual awakening, but what ended up happening was um, very fast. Like I was taken into the deep layers of reality, like unity consciousness source field, and like how everything comes to be and is manifested in this reality, and like potential different timelines. Like, I mean, there's a huge subject here, so we won't talk about it now. But that very much informed like my approach and work in sustainability and what later became this New Earth Awakening path. So when I was getting my PhD, I had to keep it within the confines of like what is considered science, right? So I couldn't go too far into the spiritual realm. But I tiptoed around it and I integrated it quite a bit. And I created a framework called regenerative community development because what I saw was there were a lot of people like starting eco villages, for example, and wanting to do really good things. And then there were people pushing the envelope and doing more regenerative work. And I still saw that there was a place for improvement which was essentially what I'm now calling life force resonance. Okay, so this loops us into that also. Is that even in regenerative work, where people are essentially saying, like, we can do better than just sustainability. And we can, because sustainability essentially approaches things with this mentality of like doing less bad or mitigating damage, or um, it still kind of separates humans from nature, right? And saying, like, let's use our resources wisely and make sure we don't overuse. Okay, but in a regenerative conceptualization, it's more like, let's make sure that we are interacting with nature in ways that develop those capabilities of nature and of people, right, to continue, like to create more life. Okay, so that's better. That's a better step in the right direction. It's getting us closer to what we're calling New Earth. But now, when we add this spiritual piece, right, um, now we're in totally different territory, really. We're talking about knowing ourselves. And when I say know, I mean like gnosis, like embodied knowing that goes way beyond your brain, what your brain can handle. Like this is embodied knowing that only some sort of spiritual awakening can help someone have. All right. So now we know, like through our bodies, that we are, life. We are everything. We are part of this big one organism expressing itself in all these beautiful multiple forms, right? In the body, as me, as you, as this computer, as the trees out there, right? It's all one, it's all connected. And so the key then, right? And so spiritual traditions tell this story in different ways, right? That when we kind of incarnate in our bodies, we forget this connectedness and this oneness, which is like a very short way of explaining what actually happens, right? Because young children are still very connected to this field of oneness, but over time kind of lose it. So in any case, over time, right, we get this feeling and idea and way of doing our life that's separate, which from my perspective really is what leads to all the problems we have now, all the unsustainability problems, people being just cruel to each other, right? And to Earth. And it makes no sense, right? Like logically, it doesn't make sense to destroy the systems you depend on for life that literally create your body. Makes zero sense, right? So this is all due to that separation, like not knowing that we are the earth, we are the rivers, we are the trees, we are the soil, we are each other. So when you have the spiritual awakening and you know this through your body, it changes how you live your life. And if you stay on that path and you develop the capabilities to, let's say, stay in that awakened state, because you can slip back. So if you stay in that awakened state, then eventually you develop this capability to feel into that life force resonance, that life force flow, right? That is everything. And you start to sort of live from that place of life force flow and life force resonance. And when you do that, you make choices that manifest more life, because in healthy living systems, so this is bringing in like living system science and ecology, but it's explaining it in a slightly different way. So if we think about like communities of life in nature, for example, we even now know through science that these communities are constantly communicating, right? All the different components are communicating, their flows and connections that help the system or community as a whole be healthy. So when those flows and communications are disrupted, that's when ecological systems or living systems like degrade and there's less life. So that's like degeneration. On the other side, there's regeneration. When the connections and the flows and relationships are good and healthy, the system can continue to manifest more life. Okay, so the same is true for humans, right? For the human, let's say, relationship with the rest of life and with ourselves and with each other. So now we're expanding from our view of like an ecosystem or community. We're expanding it to include all these other dimensions of reality, which when you've had a spiritual awakening, you know exist, like beyond like what we typically perceive. And with the life force resonance, that's the way to kind of attune multidimensionally across these levels of existence. And when we do that, we can tap into these flows that bring more life, that manifest more life multidimensionally. So in the earth realm, yes, and also multidimensionally. And so for me, as I was getting my PhD and having this big spiritual awakening, this all became like very obvious to me in a few hours. And then I spent the next many years like deepening my gnosis, deepening my understanding, deepening my experience. So I was on a very intentional, conscious path of multidimensional reality exploration, let's call it, which eventually led to, what I'm sharing with the world now, which is this new Earth Awakening movement, which is life force resonance, the work I do through soulgasmic living, also like helping people come into this coherent resonance with what I'm calling New Earth. Okay. So the way I understand New Earth and explain it to people is essentially an Earth where there are enough people who have gone through this spiritual awakening and are living in alignment with this life force resonance, right? We are coherent with life, that we are quite literally manifesting a reality of love and abundance for all life. And when I say like love, I mean a frequency, because love is to me is a frequency of like the source field. So some people might call that God or goddess or what, like whatever your word for it is. You could even from quantum physics perspective call it like the field, the unified field, call it whatever you want to, but there is a level layer reality of existence that is this frequency of love, right? That is the unity, the oneness. And from that field, all existence, eventually manifests. So that's what I mean when I say love. And people who have experienced this know exactly what I'm talking about. And these people also know that when we have this experience of being love, like as a frequency through our bodies, like we are love incarnated in this body, then we know that we can tap back into that frequency anytime. And eventually we can express it as the truth of who we are. And then that means we make different choices in the world and we manifest a different life. And this is the abundance part because, we're tapping into a field that is infinite, right? Infinite energy, infinite love, like literally infinite. And we're drawing it through to this physical realm, through our bodies, through the earth. And the earth is also abundant, right? Like the earth has so much life force available to create more life. All we really have to do is align or resonate with nature's principles, with life's principles. And in that co-creative relationship with the earth, which is a sacred relationship, we then manifest this abundance piece, right? So it's the love, like the spiritual piece, knowing ourselves as love, as that frequency through our bodies, in this sacred relationship with the earth, with ourselves, with each other, that we manifest abundance. And this is New Earth, a reality of love and abundance. Okay, it is nothing less than that. And it's totally possible. So I have seen this timeline of New Earth manifesting. And part of my spiritual journey at one point, like I'm clairvoyant, so I've seen New Earth for a very long time. But there was one point in my spiritual journey where my body opened as a portal to that New Earth timeline and sort of jumped into it, let's say. And I could see an experience for thousands of years into the future on that timeline. And I could see the steps that were going to be made, right, to manifest that reality. And so that's the timeline I'm in now, and I'm on the path. I'm doing the things I need to do, connecting with people like you, putting out what I call the signal, which is a frequency, the New Earth frequency, to other people who are on this path. And so at this point, a lot of my work is like just finding other people on this path who resonate as New Earth and also bringing through like structures to help guide us. So last time we talked, I shared with you sort of the New Earth Awakening. I'm using the word framework right now, but I don't like that word. It's going to change. But anyway, there's a process, very simple three-part process. There's a seed of life like spiral process that's also happening. So that's a 7-part spiral path. And then we have a leadership and lineage path also, which none of these are linear, right? They're all spiral because life expresses itself in spirals. But nonetheless, these things give us guidance, right, for what we need to be doing right now, which is going to change because as we co-create this reality of love and abundance, we're doing this fun dance where we're in the moment, right? Living in the moment, but we're also in this beautiful reality where space and time create constraints and we make choices. So, as we use these tools, let's call them tools that have come through for me to share with people, at some point in the future, once we have actually embodied these things, we won't need them anymore. But we might need something new, right? So I'm always open to like what's next, what's coming next. What do we need right now to help us to manifest more love and abundance? Okay.
Amazing, amazing. When you first mentioned your awakening experience, it reminded me of uh, I read in 2012. I was volunteering at uh, like an eco project that was like a kind of a forest. It was a Dutch family that moved down to Croatia, and they bought some forest land and they made sure to protect that forest. And they wanted to. They were beginning to create an eco campsite for people to come and stay, have kind of nature retreat, and that's where I found out about permaculture. And they had a book that was called The One Straw Revolution. And I just when I that's what I thought of when you mentioned your awakening. Coming from researching, studying, and this is on the sustainability path. And so those of you who may not be familiar with this book, it's by a Japanese scientist named Masanobu Fukuoka, and he was studying plant pathology. And he was, very much in the, kind of like, even though he's in Japan, he was very much in the, Western scientific paradigm of understanding how, botany works and pathology works. And then one day he had a spiritual awakening. He had like a vision of how these things actually work and how little we actually know about them. Like we think we know a lot more than we actually do, and he became open to the mystery, and he changed his life. As a result of that, he began to just pursue farming, and he ended up making a style of agriculture that he calls do nothing farming, where it's not that you do nothing, but it's not it's like he was coming from a paradigm of like control and dominance, and then moving into a paradigm of relating with nature and being open, like you're saying, to learn new things, because it's a great mystery, this life, and we have a limited perception of what's actually existing within and all around us, and by opening and not having a preconceived notion that we actually know so much, we can open ourselves to widen that perspective, and to integrate fullness, as I like to say, and that's beautiful that you're on that journey, and with New Earth development, and you spoke about life force resonance. And so you introduced that to me as a healing modality that you shared.
Mhm.
Can you speak more specifically about like how you use that and implement it as a healing modality?
Yeah. Okay. And so I approach this world of like healing and trauma and such a little differently than a lot of people. because, the words we use are important because they're frequency, and frequency is what this reality is built on. Okay, so this is key to life force resonance, actually, like understanding that. So my gnosis is that from this unified field of existence, there's this like impulse of life to manifest into something like more tangible. And so there's a movement, right, which we understand as frequency. And this is what I am calling life force. Okay. So this is different than a lot of spiritual traditions, which say that like consciousness is all there really is. And that is not my gnosis. My gnosis is that actually life force and consciousness like arise together. And so a lot of people in spiritual paths might understand this as like feminine life force and masculine consciousness. So like whatever lens we want to put on it, what's really important here is understanding the dynamic at play and the relationship and how these, let's call them forces, create this manifested reality. So from this perspective, a lot of people call healing like this reunification of these forces that have been, set into motion by the source field to create a reality. So it's this reunification of the separateness or the fractalization. And it's not, oh, I'm getting a little deep here, so I'm going to pull myself back out. um, so from that perspective, healing is, like you said, like a reweaving into wholeness. And things like trauma pull us out of that wholeness, pull us out of love. And so a lot of people want to focus on the trauma, focus on the healing. And my approach is like, well, let's just focus on the life force. Let's just focus on the love and the light. And then by default, the healing happens, right? Like the trauma gets resolved because trauma is actually life force that gets stuck, right? It's not moving anymore because the conditions that allow for life force to flow, have been altered and they're stuck in that altered state. So, for example, when I work with people and I'm using this life force resonance technique, it's very much in the body. It's also involves energy and it also involves spiritual dimensions, right? So I'm working multi-dimensionally to help someone be able to experience this life force flow again. And it can be stuck in a variety of places. It's always stuck multidimensionally. So there's always like a soul component, right? Where the soul has, let's say, decided for the person to have this experience for some reason. Most people believe it's like to learn something and it's just part of your life path, right? To learn things and to grow. So there's that component. There's like a deeper, maybe like soul family component. There's a deeper spiritual component. And if we look at it like energetically, the energy field surrounding our body contains information and it contains life flows and things are stuck in that field. And then in the body itself, the physical body, there are places where the life force will be stuck. So I'm working across, all these realms multidimensionally and more. And what I'm actually doing is I'm opening myself to this life force flow. So it's almost like becoming, like in shamanic traditions, they say hollowing out, right? So it's like becoming a clear vessel for life force to flow through me to the person and to help that stuck life force flow again, wherever it happens to be in their body. And as I'm doing this work, it's really just like this energy flowing through me to them. And first I will like clear out the stuck energy, like get it moving again. And then this really high frequency love and light flows in through me to them. And what that actually does is it like stimulates or catalyzes their own inherent life force energy to flow again, right? Like I'm not trying to get somebody dependent on me. What I'm trying to do is help people reconnect with their own inherent life and love and light that they are, to help them remember that and to get it moving and flowing again. So at the end of like my sessions with people, I will always give them practices that they will do on their own to continue whatever we started that day, continue the process, continue their unique process of reconnecting with this life force flow within themselves. And it's different for everyone, right? Because everyone needs something different, but there are many similarities. So it's just like the principles of nature in life. Like there are principles that right now to us seem immutable, but they're general. And then for any specific living system, there are going to be more specific like characteristics of that system. So it's the same way when I work with people. Like one day I might be working with somebody who's been deeply depressed for decades, and I do a soul retrieval. The another day I might be working with someone who has become like so good at controlling his sexual energy that it's essentially shut down, and he's asking me to help him reawaken and get that flowing. So that's a different kind of specific methods that I use with that person. Another day, I might be working with a woman who's like going through menopause, and she's essentially having a spiritual awakening, but she doesn't know that's what it is. And so I guide her and coach her on what she's experiencing and why, and how to use it in her life, and how to feel this life force energy flowing through her again. Right. So the commonality here is that I'm always helping people feel through their bodies this life force flow. And then over time, I work with people to help them like interpret with their brain, interpret what that life force flow is telling them about the choices to make in their life. So this helps people learn like to feel that life force, to understand what it's telling them, what it's communicating to them, because that is our primary intelligence, the life force flow. The brain only helps us like make sense of it insofar as we're connected like to other humans and the earth and like, very specific ways of knowing that the brain works with. But as we already shared, the brain doesn't have access, right, to like the bigger field of information. So that's why like our body, the inherent intelligence of our bodies, our emotions, our feelings, our multi-sensory, let's say, expanded state of consciousness perception works alongside with like our logical brain. So they go together, right? So if we look at it from that perspective, that's like a healing perspective. And with the New Earth Awakening work, what I'm doing is essentially helping leaders of the New Earth Awakening movement, meaning like, and by movement, I mean the manifestation of this life force, because the life force is moving. So helping the leaders, helping people up and coming, rising leaders, and just people who want to like dive in and just really live this way, right? I'm helping them learn to resonate with the new earth life force flow, okay, which has a very specific frequency. And so I'm helping people tap into that frequency, which is creating like a coherent resonant field that we are all, bringing through from this new earth reality. And we're bringing it through to this reality. And we're sort of like, you can think of coherence as a coordination on an energetic and spiritual plane that then results in coordination of our activities, our behaviors, and so on, so that we can really make this happen, right? Not in 100 years or 200 years, but like soon, right? Because realistically, that's the timeline we're on. Like, we need to be doing this, 20 years ago, but but from our current perspective, like the time is now, right? This is happening now, which is so exciting. But also given the conditions of the earth, like from, let's say, a sustainability perspective, if things are not looking good, things look pretty bad. And I won't go into all the data because anybody can find that. And what you're not going to find, probably, if you do an internet search, is all these people, I call them tribe members, the New Earth Awakening tribe members, like you, um, who are already on this new earth path, right? Who are doing it, who are living it, who are coordinating with others and collaborating and making it happen. And those are the people, I'm talking to, and I want to help resonate with this new earth frequency through this life force resonance is like the foundational, fundamental, let's call it a methodology, right, to help this, to make this happen.
Beautiful. Well, thank you so much for being and for doing that. Speaking about the healing process and that being outpictured into the collective healing process and kind of like a course correct, that like you said, like people like you and me are a part of creating this course correct, to change the status quo, right? To a remembrance of our alignment with life force, and to making decisions based on that. But speaking to the healing process, like my understanding and what I'm hearing from you is, when we have a trauma or a wound, it's creating it's creating a dysfunctional program, that we are repeating through, and it's limiting, our potential. It's limiting our connection and the flow of the life force, that is, the force that brings us into alignment and on the path with this, unfolding of health and wholeness, and so I know that a lot of the healing work that people do is, going into the wound and kind of trying to recontextualize their understanding of what's happened to them, or somehow transform that. And I know a lot of it is things that like we hold on to, and a lot of the things that we experience physically, they are, a result of things that we're holding on to emotionally, or psychological aspects, like certain thought patterns that repeat because it's habitualized either by ourselves, like we internalize a certain way of thinking about things, which doesn't necessarily like integrate this, like this openness. It's a closing us off into a loop kind of thing. And so what you're saying is that by just bringing the focus into the life force and opening, then it kind of displaces or transmutes and transforms these dysfunctional kind of programs that we get stuck in, the unforgiveness, the psychological wounding of whatever experiences that we've had. And so you're saying the key is to focus, and to get back in touch in a really embodied and tangible way with the life force and allow that to flow. Yeah.
Yeah, which I know sounds impossible for certain kinds of trauma, which have been extreme. And, like for people with severe PTSD or things like that. So we can think of this as like a spectrum or continuum of methodologies or technologies, right, that can meet people at different places who are stuck in different ways. So, somebody with severe PTSD, for example, might need like to join an iboga ceremony, right, to make that shift, to be able to disrupt those patterns you're talking about and to allow that love and life force in. Whereas somebody who's experienced something more mild, a more mild form of trauma, I don't want to discount anybody's trauma, because being disconnected from love is never, it's always unpleasant and it's always traumatic. But, there are less extreme versions of trauma, like let's say being made fun of, not bullying, but just being made fun of a few times when you're a kid. That can still be very traumatic. It's not the same as like somebody whose life has been threatened at gunpoint repeatedly, like that's a different level. So somebody on a more mild side of trauma might just need to like join an ecstatic dance community, like so there are a lot of tools available. And I think one thing we really need right now is people who can guide others and into choosing those tools, like what's going to work for them and what's possible. And because of the path I've been on, like I don't know all the tools that are out there, but I know a lot of them. And so as I'm working with people, whether that's individuals or groups or communities, like I have a really good sense of what somebody needs to help them. And also new technologies and methodologies always come through for me to share with people to help them get unstuck, right, and get flowing again.
Great. And so, there's an aspect of guidance and, having like a life force resonance session can open somebody up, like you're saying, to be able to better receive and act on the guidance that naturally comes to each of us. Um, and I just like to ask more specifically, like how does a session go? Like, do you always do like a laying on hands on somebody working with their energy field? Do you do this work remotely? Is it always one on one, or do you do it with groups of people, or how do all those things work?
Yeah, I do all of those. um, and a lot of it depends on how open the person or people are that I'm working with, because with someone who's open, like we can go deep and we can transform a lot of things really quickly. But for somebody who's closed off, it takes a lot longer. So it, when I'm working remotely, people still feel the energy flow because, there's beyond this dimension, the confines of space and time don't really exist. So, I can connect with somebody on different planes of existence, and they feel me working in their energy field, they feel me working in their body. And so they feel the same things, but in person, because I'm actually touching the body, we have that added component of that really only the body can bring us, because the body is this amazing technology that we have only begun to tap into. But I have been very lucky in my life to experience a lot of things through my body that are like highly healing, connecting, pleasurable, like very different ways to stimulate like endogenous DMT releases and so on. And I share those with people and I teach this to people, all these different methods. And through the body is a very important way. When I work with groups, it's a lot more like of creating a shared coherent energy field and then working really with that field, right? To help the field, you use the word transmute, right? Which to me means shifting like lower frequency vibrations of like fear-based frequencies into love-based frequencies. So transmuting those energies and creating this like collective energy field that is always rooted in the earth and also always connected to the spiritual planes. And this is true when I work with any number of people, whether it's one or thousands. Like I'm always doing this, right? Because we are always rooted in the earth through our bodies, and we are always connected to spirit, right, through our souls. Um, when I work with like communities, it's the same, except when we start to involve an earth element, like a place-based earth element, things shift a little bit. Because in that case, I am primarily tuned into the earth and what messages she's bringing through for us to listen to. Because really, she's in charge. We are here in her home. Um, and when in New Earth, when we are really connected, right, to all life and flowing life force, we are listening to what the earth is telling us that she needs in this relationship to manifest more life. Right? She's the divine feminine. She's the mother. She's the womb goddess. And we can go deeper into that another day, but you know, so I tap primarily into the earth and I bring through her frequencies. And she very much wants to co-create with us and with the frequencies we bring, right, as souls and as spirit. And so it's a process of helping people align to Earth's frequencies and helping Earth then like kind of dance and co-create with us. And there's always this process of we always enter into these expanded states of consciousness. And then once we start to come back like into the Earth consciousness, I teach people how to remain in these expanded states in a way that they can still do life, right? They can still appear like I'm going to use the word normal just to mean like somebody who's not operating in the expanded states of consciousness. But really in New Earth, like that's our baseline is being in the expanded states and also being human, right? And having this beautiful, fun, abundant life full of love. And so, yeah, teaching people how to do that and then make decisions like as a group, how to like create the eco village or create an educational program or like whatever thing it is you're doing as a group, right? Helping people tune into that life force that's flowing through the earth and through spirit and manifesting it. And that's the beautiful magic of what we're doing here on earth is that we get the chance to do this, like to consciously co-create our life together. Another thing I do is work only with the earth, okay, in the absence of people. So when I work just with the earth, it's like the portal you mentioned, the New Earth portal and the Smokies that I work with, where, well, in that case, I mostly just go there and listen to her messages, but she also wants me and other people like me to come to her. And essentially, it's like a feedback mechanism. Like she senses into what's alive in us and kind of the information we're bringing to her through frequency. So she knows like what frequencies to bring through next. And then we kind of merge these and we get them out into the world. And there's another process for doing that. Um, but like that's how I work with the New Earth portal. And then I open other portals all over the earth. Like I just have been called to these places. And when it first started happening, I would just be called to a place on the earth. I wouldn't really know why or what was going on. And then a portal would open through the earth and through my body, and energy would just start to flow through me. And what I later realized was happening was like a toroidal field was moving through the earth and through my body, and it would be placed in at different scales. Like it might just be placed around the property boundaries, or it might be placed around the bioregion or the whole earth or beyond the earth, but always through my body also. And over time, I learned, like what was happening and why. And so I do this with the earth at many, many different places, and like different portals have different powers or strengths and different purposes. But in all of those cases, I just basically go and open as a channel. And I'm always like the other work I do, which is more, let's say, on the teaching side or guidance. This is when all of that like intellectual development and the academic and scientific side kind of merge with this more spiritual side. So I can create, materials like to guide people. So like um, books and essays and, you know, educational programs and things like that. So while this could seem very like woo-woo out there to a lot of people, I always bring it into a more grounded, like tangible form that people can work with, because a lot of people are coming to this, not having their big spiritual awakening, but just having something within them like sparked and being like, huh, I'm not really happy with my life. And I think there's a different way to live. And so we want to be able to talk to those people too, who are, just starting the process and who maybe find something I publish and something resonates and they're like, I want to learn more about that. So I make pathways for people who are just starting, and I have pathways for people who are much further, like on the lineage side. Yeah.
Amazing. I'm getting so much clarity just now, being in this energy with you and hearing you speak about these things. Like and for anyone that has been, watching me on this channel over the last months or months to years, I feel like it's kind of like I've been struggling to communicate like what actually is the law of the earth. Like I always speak about it in terms of our agreements, right? We are the living law of the earth, bringing forth our choices, like you mentioned. That's the great thing about being here on the earth at this time is we get to choose, or anytime, it's part of um, the reality is our ability and our power to choose what to create because we are creators by the act of perceiving our reality. We're creating it into existence. And my gnosis is, speaking about the bodies, like each one of our bodies uh, is a fractal expression of the body of the earth. Our bodies are made of the earth, and yet also energetically, we have a certain template which maps out onto the entire planet, and the entire planet is a synthesis, of our individual templates that come together to form this group energy field. And so much clarity is coming to me as far as the law of the earth, because what that is um, there's natural law, which, as I say, no, I'm not the only one that kind of struggles to express and really put a finger on what exactly that is and why there's power in it. But it's it's these energy fields that we're tuning into, and it's communicated viscerally. We there's natural law and there's positive law, or what's known as man-made law. So all these codes, acts, and statutes, the whole history of our legal, the way we communicate and what the way it's written out, like what can and cannot be done by humans, in the various cultures and societies, that's positive law, and that's communicated through words, you know and they're looking at actually what's the spirit of the words behind what's the intention. But deeper than that and more powerful is the natural law, which is communicated viscerally, that is written on our hearts. And then when we can perceive that and express it, then we can stand as creators, and um, as just authoritative beings, as the captains of our lives, expressing that law. And so it's so beautiful, to just have that understanding, and to activate it, which is, I think, what this time is about. There's a great need for it, as people have so much confusion about, like where we're being led. And you said you work with leaders, and we're leaders on the rise, each one of us, remembering that we are the leaders of our own lives. And I just want to share for anybody that's listening, have faith and take heart, that you have what it takes, to be the leader of your life. And it's built into, it's grown through, your physical expression and your multidimensional, ongoing flow of the life force energy that is part of who we are. And I wanted to ask also, speaking about the life force resonance, and I wonder, how you work with groups also. And we are creating a group field with anyone that's tuning into this. Would you be open to kind of sharing, in a way that we could kind of, as a group that's listening to this, whether they're live or on the recording, kind of tap into feeling what it's like to be in that life force resonance activation space?
Yeah, let's do it. Okay, and let me preface this a little because I always help people let their brains go. Okay, because our brains, if along the way the brains are asking questions like, "Why are we doing this? Like, this is weird." We don't want that. So I'll give you some information so you can just let the brain take a little break. Um, okay, so when we're looking at any living system, like I said earlier, it's a community, right? So it's all about like the components, the relationships, the flows. And this is using a little more living systems science language to help us understand this. So like our bodies, right, are a living system. So a lot of you probably know that within our bodies, we have all kinds of other organisms living within us that to a large extent, like influence and even determine like how we feel, what we think about, just how we live our life. Um, so that's our body. Our body is a community. And then we exist in relationship, right, to other humans and other earth life, and that's a community, maybe our family or group of friends. And then we have these larger communities we exist within. Maybe it's our eco village, or maybe it's our workplace, or our community of people we share our hobbies and interests with, or our professional vocation. Like you understand what I'm saying. There's a community at that level. And then we've got these larger communities like cities and bioregions and the whole earth. Okay. So these things are all nested at different scales and they're networked. So like bioregions are connected, people are connected, so everything's networked and nested. So then when we're working together as a group, what we need to do to work effectively as a group is let our ego go. So in other words, this part of ourself that we have carefully constructed throughout our lifetime to be like the mask we show people, which is part of us, right? But it's not the only part. There's a bigger part. And so when I say let the ego go, this means like when we're in a group, we have to open to this life force flow and sense through our bodies into like how does this group need me to show up right now? Like what does this group need from me right now? And this starts at that body level, the feeling level, the frequency level. So you're just feeling into like what wants to move through me right now? What are the energies and the flows moving through me? And your brain, just for this practice, we're not going to interpret. We're not going to let our brains try to interpret what's happening. That can happen down the road later. For right now, we're just going to feel in our bodies. And we're just going to, some people are familiar like with the phrase dissociation, and a lot of times that's used in a negative way. But in the sense that we're going to practice it now, this is actually a good thing because we're dissociating from that ego and we're tapping into the frequency field of the group, of the community. Now, for any community or group to express its, let's say, highest frequency life force, what that requires is that each component of the group, so in this practice, it's each person has to express him or herself at our highest potential, our highest frequency expression, which is our unique signature of who we are as a soul. So even as we are creating a group and we're coming together to manifest the best and highest good through the group, that means each person is also expressing and manifesting our best and highest good. All right, so a lot of people, their egos get afraid of like, oh, this means like I'm not going to be able to express myself or be who I am. But actually, the exact opposite is true. That in a healthy functioning group, your highest self will express itself and you will be like the best expression of yourself possible. So, okay, so with that said, let's let our egos know that they are safe, they are taken care of, and we love ourselves. We love that part of ourselves, and we love this part of ourselves that we are calling in right now. Okay, so I'm going to invite you to close your eyes and take a few deep breaths so that you can just center yourself. Big, big breaths, as deep as you can in and out. Long and slow. All right, with every breath in, when you get to that peak of the breath, turn your awareness to the center of your brain, kind of the pineal gland, and just feel that area of your body. As your breath moves up at its peak, feel that center of your head. Feel it becoming enlivened and activated. I also want you to squeeze your perineum as you're breathing in. So you're squeezing that muscle. And at the peak of that in breath should be your maximum squeeze, and you're feeling energy flowing up from your perineum all the way up your spine to the tip of your head. And then as you breathe out, relax your perineum. Just let everything go. Let any tension just flow off your body. And feel that breath moving anything heavy, anything stuck, just down off your body, off your hands and fingers, down through your legs, off your feet and toes. So you're breathing up and squeezing. Breathing out, relaxing. Now, all this energy you're letting flow off your body, all that heaviness that's flowing off you and out of you, it's going into the earth. So as you breathe out, your breath is flowing down into the earth and carrying all this heavy energy with it into the earth, down through her soil, down through all her layers, into her core. So let your out breath carry all of that and relax completely. And know the earth can handle this. She can take all of that energy. Just let her have it. Just let go. As you're letting go, feel how much love the earth takes this energy from you with. She loves you so much. She's taking all this from you. She's bringing it into her core. And in her fiery core, she's transmuting it. She's alchemizing it. She is sharing her light and her love. And she's transmuting these frequencies. Now we're going to breathe those frequencies, that love energy now, back up from the earth's core. So as we breathe up, we're breathing now these energies of love and light from the center of the earth up through our feet, up through our legs, up into our torso, up through our pelvis, up into our hearts. And in our hearts here, we're feeling that connection to the center of the earth, the core of the earth, and her love for us, which is eternal, pure love. We're feeling how Pachamama always holds us, always loves us. We're feeling her love vibrate through every cell of our body. So as we breathe her love in, we're breathing all that through our bodies. At our hearts are growing activated, opening more and more with this love. Every breath in is spreading this love through our bodies more, opening our hearts more. Now breathe this love up through your head. Squeeze your perineum again. And breathe this love energy all the way out through the top of your head. And connect with the rest of life, the rest of existence. Breathe all the way through the center of the earth, through your body, through your head. Connect to all life. And as you breathe out, this connection fills your body with this expanded, eternal love. Breathing it down into every cell of our body. We're breathing it into our hearts, where we're connecting with the love from the earth. So the love of spirit, of our soul, is coming in and connecting with the earth right in our hearts. And here in our hearts, we feel them dance and merge and celebrate. And as we breathe in, we're expanding this feeling. As we breathe out, we're expanding it. So every breath now is just expanding this unified love that we feel and that we are. We feel now every cell of our body vibrating with this love. Now, as we breathe out, we're feeling that we are not this disconnected body. We are connected to this love field that is everything. So, with every breath, we're feeling this connection beyond our bodies with the web of life that exists far beyond us. We're feeling our connection to the environment we're in right now, to the space we're in, to the nature around us, the trees, the birds, the water, the air. We're breathing this life into our bodies and out from our bodies, through our bodies, as a vessel of this life flow, where we are lucky enough to feel the life flow and the connection to everything. And as we breathe this breath of life through our bodies, through the bodies around us, we are feeling our connection to each other, to everyone listening and watching today, to everyone in the future listening and watching. We're feeling our connection in this web of life that we are co-creating right now in this moment through our breath, by opening to this life force flow. So now we're just going to breathe this feeling and this connectedness to each other and to the rest of our life for a few minutes, and just really let this flow through you and settle and enliven you. And I want you to stay with this breath and breathe this connectedness you're feeling to all of life back into your body. Breathe it in. All through the top of your head, down through your feet. Feel that you're breathing that web of life into your body. Bring your awareness to your heart. Breathe it right into your heart. Now feel this connectedness, this energy, this life flow in your heart space. Activate it, awaken it. I want you to breathe that down into your pelvis, your sacral chakra. Right? This is where all that life force, all that love gets transmuted into energies we can work with through our bodies to manifest our unique piece of this web of life expressing itself. So as you breathe this life force in through your heart, down to your sacral chakra, feel that enlivening, activating. Feel the fire there. And breathe that back up to your heart. And breathe that back down to your sacral. So now we're breathing this connection, sacral heart. We're enlivening this as it's connected to this web of life. And this is like our powerhouse right here, our heart sacral connection that is still connected to that web of life, expressing itself uniquely as us. Keep breathing this connection, heart sacral, and it gets stronger and more powerful with every breath. Squeeze that PC muscle on the in-breath and relax on the out-breath. You might be seeing this right now as light, column of light that's forming in the center of your body. You might see it pulsing, growing stronger, brighter, bigger. You might feel it as warmth or tingling or vibration. These are all signs that this is activated and growing stronger. I'm going to close this in just a minute, but I want to invite you to continue this process on your own. This is life force energy, and it wants to move through you. It wants to move your body. So at this point, many people feel called to start moving, kind of like dancing, but this is life force just expressing through your body in ways that feel good. So however this is for you, this is what I invite you to do next. Allow this energy to move your body. So as we close this, keep that in mind. You can come back to this practice anytime. You can do this anytime. And as you get very good at it, this will not take you long to call this in. So I want you to put one hand on your heart, one hand on your lower belly, kind of where your sacral chakra is. Do a few final breaths here, connecting these chakras and creating this, activating this as your powerhouse for your life force flow. And we're gonna feel gratitude for being alive. Feel gratitude for being human at this time on earth. Gratitude for our bodies made of the earth, for our connection to the earth. Gratitude for our souls, for spirit. Gratitude for each other. Gratitude for our lives. We're going to say thank you, thank you, thank you. Yoni ho. One final big breath in and out. To ground in our bodies and feel fully present. Bring our awareness back to sort of normal consciousness. And we can open our eyes when we're ready. Okay.
Wow, thank you so much for guiding us through that. I hope everyone felt it and that they feel inspired to return to this luminous space, to this connected space, and really grateful to share this with you and with all of you watching now or in the future. Much love.
Much love.
And if people want to stay connected with you, maybe explore further, practicing together, um, taking sessions of the Life Force Resonance. Uh, I have this um, New Earth Awakening website in the description. And what are any other ways that people can get in touch with you or keep up with your adventures? Or
There's also soulgasmicliving.com. So that piece of it is much more rooted in the spiritual aspects. Um, and then very soon I will have drveronicalove.com website. So it's just drveronicalove.com. And otherwise, people can email. They can email the tribe at newearthawakening.life or bliss@soulgasmicliving.com. And those are good ways to get in touch.
Great. Thank you. And do you also maintain any kind of social media presence that people may
Yeah.
also tune into? Or I've seen some posts from you, which is how I
Yeah.
discovered.
I mostly Facebook, a little bit LinkedIn, but focusing on Facebook. So I think it's, well, you can look Dr. Veronica Love, Dr. Veronica Love. And I think my actual username is like dr.veronica.love, but we could probably post the link for that.
Sure.
Yeah. And I
Great.
will mention I have there are books coming out, and I don't know the timing, but the books that are coming out are essentially manageable chunks to help guide people through this process of opening ourselves to these flows, re-embodying and regenerating. Okay, so it's a remember, reconnect, regenerate process that people will be guided through the books.
That's very exciting. Very
Yeah,
exciting.
it's exciting.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. And maybe, I don't know if you have any other kind of specific upcoming announcements. I know I would like to share some as we move towards the end of our time today. Um,
Okay. I do have a Regeneratrix Convergence coming up in September, and what that means is this right now, this is specifically open to females who know themselves as kind of lineage holders, wisdom keepers of New Earth, who like know that they are bringing through codes and frequencies through their bodies to help manifest New Earth. So gathering these women to go to the New Earth portal in the Smokies and work with her, and also be on like a lineage initiation path that I guide. So if anyone feels called to join me, that's in September. And very shortly after, I will, listen to the portal for the timing on that, but we will invite the men in as well in the right time, which I believe it feels like it's going to be within the next year. So if you're a man who feels called to this path, then definitely stay abreast of what's going on and get in touch with me. I want to work with you. It's just that the gnosis that's coming right now is that the women are the ones who sort of start this and like create the field, and then the men attune to the field, and then together, we move it forward.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Um, awesome. Thank you.
Yeah.
Um, and so, in in terms of what I wanted to share, also, just putting it out there to the community, our beautiful global community, people acting on that impulse to be in reconnection with the earth and realizing, we are nature, and um, to to move forward from that consciousness and that awareness. this upcoming full moon, uh, there is an online gathering that I'm just sharing because I think that anyone that's interested in this work will also be interested in that, and that has to do with sacred lands of America. So I'll share a link also to that in the chat here, once I find that. That's just I just I mean these beautiful lands that we're on, the people that have been living on them, um, we've forgotten in many ways, uh, our connection with that, and it's it's fallen dormant in some way in the way that we perceive it, and so I just want to promote this, this upcoming full moon, uh, as a remembrance and as an opportunity for us um, to kind of refocus and share that awareness, that we are on sacred lands, and this powerful energy that's flowing throughout and through each one of us, and um, it's 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 a celebration at this time to bring that forward, and as you mentioned, uh, you have this special uh, New Earth portal. And are there any other places that you've been in connection with that you would like to just presence or share about? Uh,
Yeah. I mean, of course, there are portals all over the earth, and a lot of people know about a lot of them. And I've been asking this particular portal, like, why don't people know about you? Like what's the deal? And I mean, this place is amazing. Like last time I was there, the word that kept coming was Eden. Like it is such a pure frequency of life. Like the word Eden kept coming. And so what she told me was she has been protected. She's been protected until such a time that people were ready to work with her. Um, so, I mean, this is the invitation, so I'm looking for these people who are at this pure frequency level to come to this place with me and work with her. And this is a very, um, I mean, special is an understatement of what this invitation is. When people come, I've brought a few people to this place, and they are like, they literally drop to their knees to worship her. That is how pure and strong this energy is. There are other portals I've been called to all over the earth. There's some near where I live, but they all feel like kind of like minor portals as far as the power. But the other gnosis I have is that all the portals are connected. And in particular, the ones I work with are all connected through water. And there's a lot I could say about that. But nonetheless, wherever we live, the tribe members, wherever we feel called to work, like for sure there are portals everywhere. There's some up in like the Appalachian Mountains I've been called to, and I know a lot of people working in that part of the world to help manifest New Earth. So there's some really specific portals up and down Appalachian Mountains. I've been to several, like in Sedona area, Phoenix area. Where I live right now is in North Carolina, so I work with a lot in North Carolina, but I'm happy to travel as I am called to open these portals and work with the communities who are called to like co-create New Earth at these portal sites. And so the way I do that is to help people attune to that frequency, resonate with it. And then we have all these New Earth Awakening tools, right, that I've created that have flowed through me and also been coupled with my intellectual, skills to create the frameworks and the methodologies and so on that people can follow. So it's not like totally up in the air. There's a very grounded expression of this. And, that's another piece of this invitation that if you're one of these people who feels called to create a land-based community or a business or, something kind of, let's say, more tangible in a more grounded way, I can support with that also on the frequency and energy and spiritual side, but also on the more grounded, tangible implementation and practical and scientific side.
Amazing, amazing. Um, well, thank you so much, Veronica, and I'm so happy to share this first interview. Hopefully, we can go deeper more in the future again and explore further. Like I wanted to ask also, about this vision that you had going further into the future, and so that will be something hopefully to for people on this channel to look forward to you coming back and sharing more about your vision that your eyes were opened to for what the new
Yeah,
Earth looks like and how it is. Um, so
I'd
just
be
a little,
happy to.
yeah. Oh, great! Something a little teaser for people. Hopefully, they'll come back and we can dive into that together.
Yeah,
Um,
that'd be great.
so have a beautiful day, everyone, and remember to stay connected to the sacred life force resonance, and that we are the living law of the earth, expressing our power without um, I'm not going to say without fear. We fear is a part of the experience, um, and but with courage, which is a word that comes from core, our heart. So just remembering to feel a connection with our heart and move forward um, with courage. And we have together we can face anything, and we can also create anything, and dream any heart's dream into being. Um, so look forward to be co-creating with all of you going forward in these wonderful times. And thank you so much for sharing today, Veronica, once again. And I
Yeah,
hope you have a
thank you.
beautiful rest of your day.
Okay, you too.
Lots of